Get started, okay? We've got a lot to cover. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Butte County General Plan 2030. This is Citizens Advisory Committee meeting number 4-2C. And today is April 24th, 2008. My name is Tim Snellings. I'm the Development Services Director with Butte County, and I want to welcome all of you here tonight. Thank you all for coming out. If I could get the CAC members to take your seats. Before we get started, or as we get started, we have a couple of members from our Board of Supervisors present tonight, and they would like to offer a few comments. As you know, at the very end of all the work with the Citizens Advisory Committee, it will be the Board of Supervisors who will have to make the tough decisions. So I'd like to introduce one of the Chico board members, Supervisor Jane Dolan, to say a few words to you. So give Jane a welcome.
Sure.
Hello. Here's my notes, because I actually thought of some things. So I'm sorry if I'm not going to make eye contact, but I'm reading this instead. It's not really reading. But first of all, I got home last night and turned on the TV, and as a channel flipper, I found you all on Channel 11, and it was your Orville workshop. So I watched it, but then I fell asleep. Because it was, I don't know what time it started, but you guys worked a long time, and you worked really well. So I just want to say I did watch that, and I was really grateful to all of you. It was very evident that you were paying attention, you read your stuff, you were asking questions, you were insightful, you were polite, you were thoughtful. So thank you. Tim had indicated to each of us on the board that we were to come to the meetings that were in the area where we live and represent. And my second district is the Esplanade to the river, the western part of Chico up to the Tehama and Glen border. And we were supposed to sort of like greet you and say hello. But then I realized my colleagues on the board who came gave you a little bit of perspective of what we were thinking, so that's what I'm going to do. First of all, I really do believe that the decisions that the City of Chico makes and the County of Butte makes on general plan for the community of Chico need to be in cooperation and in sync and together. Easier said than done, because our timing of decision making is not in sync. We are a little bit ahead of them. So I just would encourage you to keep that in mind, because I think that they ought to be the same, not just the county acquiescing to whatever the city wants or vice versa, but the same. So it's a struggle. There have been meetings. Supervisor Kirk and I have been meeting with the mayor and vice mayor 2 or 3 times, I can't remember, and the staffs are there. And I know staff will report about some of those subject matters and ask questions about what the staffs are doing there. In terms of this community of Chico, I really think that a community that's now 100,000 in its community and will grow, and everybody thinks it's going to grow, needs to start thinking like a city. I think that transit and walkability ought to be themes of all decisions for the growth and future of the community of Chico. So I would encourage you to just ask those questions about the growth areas. Is transit viable and possible, and is it walkable and safe for people who live and work and shop there? The Board of Supervisors, as you know, spent a lot of time last November looking at all these alternative areas that you're now looking at, and we spent a lot of time and intention on that. We didn't do it cursively. We looked at. Some of the decisions were really firm and unanimous. I'll tell you about a couple of those. Some were unanimous, but for varying reasons, maybe a few of us were like, let's see. And some we were just plain split. And I want to say this emphatically as the supervisor representing the 2nd District, which is the western part of Chico, and someone who's been in office for a while. The areas that we left, the Board of Supervisors left, on the agricultural side of the Green Line, were meant to stay on the agricultural side of the Green Line. They were not meant to be left there so that the city could have them as growth areas or that anyone else could. We thought about that, we were certain, and that was the decision that we made. The Green Line was enacted a while ago, and from time to time people ask me if we made a mistake or it's over. I thought it was a good idea then, but every single year that I live in this community and view it, I think it is a better idea. and I feel stronger about that, and I think you need to know that, and I at least want to tell you that, even if you don't need to know it. The North Chico Specific Plan, the county's North Chico Specific Plan, began in the early 90s, and I've worked with 4 supervisors. That's not in my district, but I've worked with 4 supervisors from District 3 on that. It was a goal of the board at that time to try to give some sense and sensibility in planning to an area that had been allowed to sprawl in the 60s and 70s. There were a lot of the 1-acre, 3-acre, sprawly, in my opinion, sprawly type home sites there. We were trying to give some sense to it and give a village core in a way that it was not just 4,000 acres of large lot homes. So I think that that still is a possibility to bring sense and sensibility to that, so I'd encourage you to look at that North Chico Specific Plan and understand that probably it does need refinement and ways to become more viable. Clearly it needs infrastructure, but any new growth areas need infrastructure. The fact that it doesn't have sewer and water ought not to be the reason not to do it. It all does. And let me just speak really briefly on Belmure. In the 80s, when the Board of Supervisors enacted the Chico Area General Plan, we left this area called Belmure, which we defined as the area of the roads to its north, so it's Muir, Bell, South, as an area that has potential for some kind of urbanization and a low-density residential theme if the roads, storm drainage, and infrastructure could be planned to become modern and a way to pay for them. We left the zoning, which had been in place since 1964, A5, and we gave it a designation of ag residential, which is suburban that allows small animals. And I think that the issue remains today, how does this area get the infrastructure it needs to support any change in the density that it has right now, and how do we pay for it? The board then, and I, at least me now, don't want it to be piecemeal with 5 acres at a time, but the road network was done by John Bidwell, I understand, or maybe one of his friends, so it's pretty old and pretty rural and isn't laid out to support urban development. But the other thing is, from my perspective, any consideration of the Belmure area as a growth area would not, in my mind, in any way be meant as a launching pad for further urbanization north into the Green Line area. So just another little pitch there for the Green Line. I will never vote to change it. Other things there, area plans, money, infrastructure, transit, walkability, how all this infrastructure works so the community is livable, and we're not trying to figure out how to find money to repair things that are without the appropriate support, infrastructure, and services for a community that should be livable, are just themes to me, and I know that they are to you because I've at least watched your Oroville meeting, and I just thank you for your time and willingness to serve, and attention and energy and brain and thoughtfulness, and have fun.
And also here tonight is Supervisor Maureen Kirk to say a few words.
Well, I got a different message on this. I thought I was supposed to come and say thank you and good job. And that's what I'm going to say. When I got, at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, I kind of wanted to go home. And I thought, all of you have put in so much time. You work all day long, and then you come over here at 5 to 9, and you really have to concentrate. So I just appreciate what you're doing so much, and I appreciate all the people that aren't on the CAC because you offer so much to the whole discussion. So mostly I just wanted to thank everybody for doing what you do. I'm really happy that you're taking straw polls now. You're taking votes on growth areas. I think that gives us a lot more information when we're going to be looking at it. Something that's unanimous would be different than something that was split half and half. So it really gives us a sense of all of what you think. So I'm really happy that the change has gone that way. Mostly, I'm not going to lobby for anything except for that I want you to make sure that you keep in mind the water. I have North Chico, Cohasset, Forest Ranch, and a lot of that area really doesn't have the water that we should have. So when you're talking about growth areas, please keep that in mind. That would be my plea to you. So anyway, thanks so much.
Okay, what I'd like to do is just to provide a little context for tonight's meeting. And basically what we have, we're halfway into the general plan process. Our general plan process includes a comprehensive update, rewrite of the Butte County General Plan. It includes a brand new zoning ordinance to implement the general plan and an environmental impact report to support both documents. We have 8 workshop series that have been put together to achieve that goal. Right now, we've concluded 3 of the workshop series, which had to do with the going out into the communities, listening really to the communities, what's of interest to them, what things they like about their communities, what things they don't like, what things they want changed, what things they don't want changed. And so it's been a lot of time listening and drawing input. We identified areas for potentially be worked into our preferred alternative. That's the stage that we completed on November of last year. Tonight, we take that information and we move it to the next step, which is the process of creating a preferred alternative for the new general plan. And so we're narrowing down the areas. The discussion should be very invigorating tonight. We should have some differences of perspective, and that's all good and part of the process. And so I'm very eager to get us into that process. I don't think we'll be out of here by 9 o'clock. I think it's more like 10 or 10:30 or something like that. We have a lot of things to cover, so I'm going to give that time over to David to get this going. So I just want to say thank you all for being here, and hang on. It's going to be a fun time tonight.
I will. Thank you, Tim. I'm David Early with Design, Community, and Environment, and we are, as many of you know, the consultants for the general plan, and it's great to be here for our 3rd meeting in this series to work on the preferred alternative. I want to make sure the audience is aware that this is a CAC meeting. There has been within this workshop series number 4, there was a meeting number 1, which was the public workshop to take a lot of public comment. We will have a brief period tonight for public comment, but this really is a work session for the CAC. And so mostly it's going to be a chance for the CAC to discuss what they think should happen in the study areas in the northern part of the county that we're looking at this evening. This is the wrong slideshow, right, Tim? Can you make my slideshow come up? Because I'm probably not smart enough to do that. I'll keep talking while you do that, so I'll just talk about extraneous things. Yeah, exactly. We will, just so people in the audience know, we do have about half an hour on the agenda for public comment, and I imagine that many of you want to speak. We have done a workshop like this twice already. We did one in Paradise, we did one in Oroville. We had that exact same format, and what we did is we had a show of hands of the number of speakers that wanted to speak, and then we divided the 30 minutes into the number of minutes per person, and that's the number of minutes everybody got. The first time it was 2 minutes, the second time it was 1.5 minutes. I'm guessing tonight it's going to be 1.5 minutes or a minute, based on the number of you in the audience. So that will be the length of time for presentation, and so you can start thinking, if you are a member of the public who would like to speak, exactly how you're going to use that 60 to 90 seconds that you'll have. All of you should also know, and CAC members, I want to remind you that there has been a 4th meeting added to this workshop series that is going to be next Thursday in Oroville. Right? That's where we did, no? Butte College. It will be in at Butte College a week from tonight. That is going to be a meeting to look back at all the work done at the first 3 meetings and to look at the total build-out of the preferred alternative that you will have created, and then to make any final fine-tunings to that plan preferred alternative before it's passed on to the Planning Commission. So that's a workshop that was added last week, and again, it's going to be at 5 o'clock, 4:45 for dinner at Butte College 1 week from today.
Public comment?
Yes.
Will there be public comment?
There will be public comment at that meeting. It will likely be limited in time once again because it's going to be a big work session for all of you, so I imagine it'll be another half hour with perhaps 30 or 40 speakers. But there will be an opportunity for public comment. And perhaps more importantly, given the time constraints on oral public comment, certainly people can submit written comments in advance, and I'm sure that CAC members will read them. Okay, so tonight's agenda, we've talked about a little already. We have some brief presentations. We're a little behind schedule on that, but I'm going to run through a couple of things this evening, and then we're going to open it up for questions and answers from the CAC about any things that have been going on. Then we will have the half hour for public comment that I mentioned, and then we have, I haven't counted them, it's about 12 study areas that the CAC is going to work through tonight. We will do that in the same way we did it at the previous 2 workshops. There will be a brief presentation by Tanya Sundberg from our office about the study area. We'll then answer any questions that CAC members have, and then we will open it up for the CAC comment. All of the public comment will be during the half-hour session before we look at the individual study areas. There was asked last time, couldn't we have a round of public comment for each of the study areas? And the answer is, unfortunately, no. We just don't have time for that, so there is just the one public comment period at the outset of the meeting. I've been asked, this is something we didn't do the last two times, but just to give you an overview of the items that are in your packet this evening. And so I'm not sure I can keep track myself. You've got a pretty thick stack of things. There's a first thickest stack that has the agenda on it, and within that thickest stack are 5 attachments. Attachment A is actually the next to last item listed on this listed on the screen, which is the errata regarding tonight's meeting. And there has been one errata found which relates to water service in the Durham area, where we mistakenly thought that the Durham water provider could provide municipal water service. That's not the case. And so the study areas 16 and 17 in alternatives 3 in one case and alternatives 1, 2, and 3 in the other receive a lower score, actually a D for water supply, a lower score than we had been aware. Other than that, this thicker packet includes a series of inputs about the study areas you're looking at tonight from our previous meetings. It includes a summary of the March 27th workshop regarding these study areas, a comment card synopsis of cards turned in at that workshop, verbatim comment cards that have been scanned, and then web forum comments that have been posted to the web. Within this packet also are a few letters that have been received at various times, as well as some petitions, and I felt like I needed to point out for the record that there are 1 and perhaps even 2 letters from Galloway Consulting in this packet. Galloway is a sub-consultant to DC&E on this project, but has not been retained by DC&E to provide these particular letters, as we are not clear and the letters don't really say on what basis Galloway chose to write them, but I want to clarify that those letters were not prepared as a sub-consultant to DC&E or on contract to the county. In addition to that thicker packet, you have as well a thinner packet that contains, depending on how you count, 3 or 4 or 5 letters that were received by county staff just recently. There is within that packet, it's entitled Supplemental Materials to the Agenda. There is a memo from DC&E describing how we've been coordinating with the City of Chico regarding planning areas issues in Chico, and then letters from Don Schwartz regarding Study Area 14, a letter from CARD regarding their desire for a community park within Study Area 10, and then one letter which is a cover letter to 2 additional letters which essentially asks you to create a new study area in what was formerly known as Growth Area 1 in the north of the Belmure area. This is actually an area that was once looked at by the City of Chico for growth. It was a study area in your process at one point. It was removed at the direction of the Board of Supervisors, and owners in that area are asking that it be reinstated as a county study area. I might also mention that the letter from Mr. Schwartz essentially suggests a new 4th alternative with some research and development park, some housing, and a relatively large area for grazing, and that might be considered a 4th alternative. In addition to that, you have 4 other items. A letter was placed on your desks from Doris Schell that was received by county staff in the mail today. You have a handout from the City of Gridley, to which they have attached a 3rd item, which is their area of concern with the City of Biggs. And then the 4th item that you have loose on your desks is a map showing the study areas that we're looking at this evening. So if you're keeping score, those are all the things that you have here. Okay, the agenda says that I'm going to review the results of both our April 10th and April 17th meetings. I'm going to spare us talking again about April 10th. We heard about April 10th on April 10th, and we heard about it again on April 17th. But I do want to review for you what we have done, what you did at your April 17th meeting, at which we looked at the study areas on the larger Oroville and Gridley and Biggs areas, essentially the south part of the county. You looked at study area 8 for Berry Creek. 16 of you voted for alternative 2, leaving the majority of area in the agriculture without any significant new homes. There were 10 in a minority that looked at, wanted to see very low residential development with about 300 new homes. You looked at a series of study areas in and around Oroville. The first of those was Thermalito, with a vast majority preferring a sort of a hybrid of alternatives 1, 2 in the city's general plan, with the majority of the area in medium-density residential and medium to high-density residential, with as many as 7,000 new homes in the Thermalito area. Study Area 23 in the eastern Oroville area, the Oroville Hills. 15 of you wanted to go with the city's preferred general plan alternative from the city of Oroville's general plan, and adding additional retail and residential uses along Miners Ranch Road. And that was the only modification, but that would allow about 18,000 new residential units in that hill area in Oroville. 9 of you preferred the city's general plan exactly as it was without that addition along Miners Ranch Road. In Area 24 in Stringtown, we had a unanimous vote to take the landowner's preferred alternative, which, like all of the other alternatives, kept the Stringtown specific plan in place, but then added additional new homes in the portions of that study area that are outside the specific plan area for a total of 2,700 new homes. Could I ask, I'm sorry, it's very hard for me to do this with other folks talking. Sorry. Study Area 25 in the Thermalito After Bay area, we had 16 of you, with a majority preferring alternative 1 with the entire area in rural residential. This would be about 100 new homes. Study Area 26, the Las Plumas Southside Ophir Road area, all of you preferred the city's general plan alternative, with the majority of the area in medium and low density residential. Study Area 27, Pacific Heights Road along Highway 70. 15 of you preferred alternative 2 with the entire area in agriculture. And then in southern Oroville, Study Area 28, all of you preferred the city's general plan, which is a very low density with rural residential development and part of the area in environmental safety designation. In Palermo, you all preferred alternatives 2 and 3, which were the same in both alternatives, with almost all of the area in agriculture, some very low residential density near town, about 20 acres of retail and industrial with the potential for about 100 new homes. And then in Bangor, we had alternative 2 modified with almost all of the area in agriculture, the modification being to go in and define where retail uses exist. Most of that area that's designated for retail right now is kind of a blob on the map and is going to be redesignated to be on specific sites. We then looked at the areas around Biggs and Gridley. Study areas 31 and 33 in Biggs you looked at together, and a majority of you chose alternative 2 for both study areas, which has the majority of the area in agriculture, with some industrial and retail uses as well. And then in Area 34 on the north side of Gridley, 13 of you voted for alternative 1, leaving the majority of area in agriculture, and some very low and medium density residential and about 300 new homes. I think all of you also agreed that as Gridley and Biggs work further, that there may be an opportunity for some changes there, but that at this time the appropriate thing was to put those primarily agricultural designations in place. And that's what I just said on that slide. So that's where we are today. We're a little bit behind schedule, but not too much, I hope. But I do want to open it up now for any questions that CAC members have before we go on to public comment. And I know you all are old hands at this, so there may not be too many questions. Mike?
I do have one question, and it may have a little bit of an editorial character to it, but it has to deal with the criteria for grading school capacities, and the criteria B that was talking about if all of the students generated from a study area could be handled by planned future schools. And when I read the Chico area schools, and I think about the fact that we've got the school district has a high school site and an elementary school site that they've purchased, that it reads in the grading criteria as if that capacity was in fact in place, and that if students were generated, they would be handled by the planned capacity, and when in fact that capacity is, we've got the land but not the buildings in place, and wondered how that was handled in your overall approach, the philosophy behind it.
Well, we gave an A score to capacity that actually does exist. As you've pointed out, there is such a thing as capacity that doesn't exist on the ground but is planned. When that capacity is planned but doesn't exist, we didn't give it an A, which would have been the highest score, but we gave it a B instead. I think your question has suggested that we gave the same score whether the capacity exists or is only planned. That's not really true. We gave an A if the capacity exists. We gave a B if the capacity is planned. So you might say that those are the same, but I would say A and B are different, and we gave two different scores depending on whether the capacity exists or is planned. Other questions? Yeah, Richard.
Are there any plans to move Butte County's water allotment from Lake Oroville up north, pipeline, anything? I mean, I've heard comments from some people in the community that there might be plans to move some of Butte County's allotment of Lake Oroville water north, and that would really change how we look at some of the study areas along 99.
I'm going to ask Dan and Tim if they want me to take a stab at this question or if someone else in this room should do that. I have a best available answer. Richard, I think we're going to ask the question again to a person who actually knows the answer.
I was hoping.
I actually was in the middle of my cookie, so...
Sorry to do that, Paul.
Yourself for the audience.
Paul. Good evening. I'm Paul Goslin. I'm Director of Water Resource Conservation for Butte County.
You want to ask the question again, Richard?
Are there any plans to move water, the Butte County's Lake Oroville allotment, out of Lake Oroville? I mean, Sue, at the Paradise meeting we were talking about, there had been plans to put a pipeline up the hill. Are there any plans, even conjectural plans, to move water from Lake Oroville?
If you're talking about the allotment that the county has?
Right.
Yeah, the county we have 27,500 acre-feet of water that we've had. And the way the state gave it is for us to use within county uses. Now, the cost of that water and where it is to get to people who actually need it has meant that most of it has never been used within the county to a great extent. 2 years ago, we've only used about 1,200 acre-feet within the county, and the rest goes into the state system, into the pool, and it goes, and we only had to pay for what we used. Now, this past year, we upped it to 2,500 acre-feet, and we've been looking to work with the municipal water providers and others to increase the use within the county. And we're looking over the next year to up it to 4,000 and then 5,000, and in the next 7 to 12 years, take all that water and find uses within the county. Now, what's changed this year was the state told us that the entire 27,500 acre-feet we'd have to pay for even if we didn't use it. And that was going to be, well, yes, that was the county's reaction too. And that was an $800,000 bill, but what they also allowed us to do, which was a unique process, was with whatever water we weren't able to use within the county that we had to pay for, we could then find and negotiate a sale to another state water contractor provider. And everyone's facing a 35% cutback of their state water project allotment. So that was going on this year. We're looking at the environmental feasibility of doing that for 2 years, but the plan is to, again, up it to 4,000 acre-feet next year, and then eventually in the next 7 years or so, complete use totally within the county. And we have a feasibility study option to look about, can we move it over to the Chico area and potentially even Durham area if there's ability to use it over there.
May I respond to that since you named me?
I want to really watch our time too. We're about 35 minutes behind schedule right now.
Just real fast, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. The defunct Lime Saddle Water District had water given to them, or however you say it, originally. And it has never been used because the pipeline from Lake Oroville up to, I guess what you're saying, north being Magalia and so forth, has never been used. It's still in the lake because the pipeline doesn't come up. And that's what I was talking about. And yes, there are supposedly plans to get a new pipeline in the lake to get a water treatment plant and start giving us in Paradise and Magalia and such the water. And so I think that was his question, and that was the answer. And am I not right?
Yeah.
That was part of it. We're also working with the districts up there, Paradise Irrigation District and others to look at.
This is Del Oro that has that, yeah.
Del Oro to look at Paradise and some of the ridge area.
So if that's what you're referring to as north and what I said, I think the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But that was our water designated right from the first. Okay.
You're not
Any other questions before we move on to public comment? Bruce.
David, I've got one. These meeting summaries for the previous two and then for tonight, are you planning on distributing them to us before next week's meeting?
We are very unlikely to be able to distribute a final preferred alternative before the meeting next week, and I apologize
I just
for
meant
that.
the summary of the meeting, just like you presented to us
The slides that we've got. I think we can post these slides to the website, certainly, so you can download them and look at them. A complete summary, including tonight's results with a map and a table, I don't think we're going to have until the meeting next week. But we can certainly put at least the two existing PowerPoint shows onto the website so you can download them. And Tanya or Joanna, how quickly could we make a similar PowerPoint or something like that for this third, for tonight's meeting? By the end of the day tomorrow. So maybe even, it may take till Monday morning, but you should have all three of them by midday on Monday at the latest. Any other questions?
To start public comment, is that what you were doing? You want to start with Goodley? Were you going to do that?
No, but I can.
Can you please? Or I will.
Do they get to...
No. She has a couple minutes. How long, Andrea? A couple minutes? Okay.
We will take the illustrious representative from Gridley first, but I think before we do that, I would like to do what I said I would do, which is to find out how many speakers there are and to take to allocate the time fairly. Is that right? Okay. So if you do want to address the CAC tonight, can you please raise your hand so I can count how many speakers there are? Please, if you don't raise your hand now, you probably won't get to speak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. That divided into 30 minutes is about a minute apiece. So we will take Andrea first, and I will be timing and giving you the word as to when the time is up. I believe that microphone is set up for you, and we would like to have others approach the mic and stand at a respectful distance but in line so that we can move through people pretty quickly. Please. You go. You're ready.
Hi, my name is Andrea Redamonti. I'm the Community Development Director from
Do we have this mic on? I'm sorry, we won't count your time yet, but let's speak right into it.
I'm the Community Development Director from the City of Gridley. I apologize for taking time at this meeting dedicated to growth issues in Chico. And we would have liked to have presented our preferred land use alternative at your previous meeting. However, our general plan schedules don't always coincide. For your information, Gridley's halfway through our general plan update and sphere of expansion process. We anticipate completion within this 1 year. Just this Monday, the City Council refined and confirmed its land use preferred alternative, which is before you tonight, attached to the letter that I submitted. Basically, our growth area overlaps Area 34, which you considered last week at your CAC meeting, and we would like to submit our comments on Area 34, which basically we are requesting that area be designated another land use alternative, which is urban reserve. We look forward to discussing this matter further and answering any questions you may have on the information that I submitted tonight, which includes a letter explaining our land use alternatives and a brief description of the alternatives, as well as a map depicting the area of concern between the cities of Biggs and Gridley. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sticking to very close to a minute. Next, please.
Richard Jones,
excuse me,
Durham.
I'm sorry, just a moment, please. Todd?
Talk to them about stating their area.
Oh, yes, okay. Yes, please do, for all of us and all of you who want to speak, please listen to this, if you could, to state at the beginning your name, where you live, and most importantly, if there's a specific study area that you're speaking of or several, please let us know that at the outset. If you're speaking generally about issues, you can certainly mention that, but if there's a specific study area you're wanting to talk about, please do state that at the beginning of your comments along with your name. Yes. Oh, and if you're supporting a particular alternative for in that study area, please mention that very specifically as well. And with that said, please begin.
Richard Jones, Durham, area 17, and I am supporting alternative 3. But I wanted to point out in this memorandum from, remember, Design, Community, and Environment, they gave a D to water availability in the Durham area. I'd like to give an F to the people who did that, went out and did that research, because there's plenty of water down there. You don't even mention Durham Irrigation District, which is where everybody gets their water that lives down there and is on a community system. Then I'd like to point out Alternative 1 and Alternative 2 in the Durham area, again, are they're in a very
10
low...
seconds.
What?
10 seconds.
Very low density, and therefore work out to be 5-acre parcels, which is against the D2N plan.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Barbara Hennigan, and I'm here to talk about water. And since we only have a minute, I brought Cliff Notes. What I have here is a water budget for the Big Chico Creek watershed, which is the source of the water for Chico and for many of the things that you're looking at tonight. And what I did was calculate the rainfall above the recharge zone, the water that's gathered in the watershed, and multiplied that by the acreage. I took the numbers that I knew about native vegetation use of water, and then I took the USGS stream flows of
10 seconds.
Of the creeks at Chico. And so on one side of this picture you have the inflow, on the other side you have the outflow, and essentially it shows that you are using all the water, all the rain that falls on an average year. So my question is,
okay,
when you add houses, whose water are you going to take away?
Thank you.
Bert Garland, Chico. I'm here to talk about Area 19, Durham-Pence Highway 99. Twice the area there has had packages presented to your group regarding the need for industrial and open space at that intersection. On 3 of the 4 corners, it's already zoned M1. And so there are at the northwest corner, there's already over 6 employers with over 500 employees. The water was in question. The water is outstanding. There's 2 producing wells at over 3,500 a minute. The traffic is excellent. The area has expansion. And to consider leaving that ag, when it's already zoned M1 at all 3 corners of that overpass that's already been improved, doesn't seem to make a whole bunch of real good planning sense. We know the county wants jobs, and we want good traffic. So of the alternatives for industrial expansion in Butte County, it would seem that that intersection has quite a few merits. So we'd like you to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for staying within the 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Bruce Hall, and I represent the Upper Stilson Canyon Development. It's not a development, it's a study area. We're not developers. This is a family-owned series of properties. It's been in our family since 1968. It's the largest single block of ownership land, single ownership land adjacent to Chico. You can see how big it is. We have an opportunity now to do incredible things with it. We're not developers, but we have a vision for the land to be at least 2,000 acres of mixed-use open space, some clustered homes. We have Doe Mill Vineyard up there we want to promote. We want to have ag uses, tasting rooms, and winery. We want to have horses, bike trails, hunting, fishing. We want to create the Humboldt Trail Park. 2 things I want to leave you with. One is
10 seconds.
Without water, we won't have any development. We have 3 sources, proven sources of water. And finally, right now it's one piece of property. After a couple of years, it could be fractured with multiple ownerships and multiple
Time's up.
agendas. So let's do it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike McLaughlin. I am a Paradise resident. I'm here to make a brief statement about Study Area 14 as it relates to the Skyway between Paradise and Chico. In August, there will be an attempt by interested parties in Paradise to submit a scenic corridor element to the general plan. In order to do that, we must have a rather unfettered alternative system for study areas 14 and for 10. So I am asking you this evening to please recommend an alternative 1 for study area 14 so that at least the board will know that there is something coming up in order to try to preserve the Skyway. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Brianne Farley, Durham, Area 17. As residents of Durham, it has long been known by those of us who live there that we lack some of the basic representation that can be afforded if we were an incorporated area. As a member of the newly formed Durham Area Action Team, I've been asked to comment on the 3 proposals before the CAC. We've unanimously concluded that Durham's area would be best served by asking that alternative number 1 be adopted for the General Plan 2030. This alternative is in compliance with the existing D2N plan, which has been functioning very well for the last 10 years, and there is no immediate need for change. We are concerned with allowing large-scale blocks of arable agricultural land to be developed for housing when there is no adequate road system to accommodate the additional traffic. The study area indicates that allowing larger use of ag land for housing would receive a C for fire emergency service and a B for sheriff services.
10 seconds.
The schools are deemed inadequate for space and receive a D, failing. As a mom, I wouldn't want my kids coming home with a D grade, so why would we give our school a D grade? I'd like to have those people from Durham who agree with me to please stand.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jim Berglund, Chico. I'm speaking on behalf of, I think, 14 acres of landowners with 3 families. We've got property at the north end of Bay Avenue, which is off the extension off of Cusick. I think that's Area 3, but the maps that I've been provided, it's kind of hard to figure that out. That's an area that's surrounded now on 2 sides with high-density development. There's apartments going in or have gone in and are occupied now for about the last year and a half. To the east of us and to the north of us, there's a new subdivision going in with apparently high-density houses. We are an island of 1 acre or 5 acre zoning. Makes no sense to keep it that way. The residents would like to be able to have the property used more consistently with the rest of the area. Our recommendation is 1/4 acre lots and hopefully annexation at some point in time. The services are close by, and I think it's all been looked at. So that would be our recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dylan Paul. I'm here on behalf of the owners of Study Area 15. You should have all received one of these packets. This study area has been a point of a lot of conversation in recent years. Back in 2001, it was designated one of 6 sites in the county for a research and business park. It was chosen because of its centrality in the county. These research parks actually incubate and draw over the long run technology into an area that doesn't currently have it. They would be actually creating new businesses and then putting them into communities. It's something that will not happen without public, private, and educational support. This Study Area 15 was chosen by educational entities. It was chosen by the county back in 2001, and it has been chosen by several private entities. The interest in developing the wider area is not our goal. We want jobs. Study area or alternative 4 is 300 to 400 acres for a research park only. We're talking about jobs and technology coming to Butte County and everybody benefiting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Adams. A lot of you have seen me behind the microphone as a consulting civil engineer, but tonight I'm here as a resident of Durham, speaking to Study Area 17. The Durham area 10 years ago went through this same process, nearly identical process, and created the D2N plan. And I simply just want to state, like Rian said, we support Alternative 1, which is the existing D2N plans. We believe it's the best plan for the Durham area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jody Galloway. I'm representing the Study Area 9. I just would like to reiterate some of the findings that I submitted to the county in our letter. In terms of the environmental findings for the site, I'd like to sort of recap our findings in that there has been no Butte County Metaphone findings on the site, despite a recorded site in 1991. We have, after 3 years of surveying the site, have not found any Butte County Metaphone on the site. Nor have we found any other endangered species, such as the alternatives analysis would lead reviewers to believe. We have intensively studied the site for 3 years and have found no endangered species on the site. And in fact, we've prepared a wetland delineation that is at the core for verification right now. So in terms of environmental impacts.
Can you hear me? Time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Sorry.
And can you clarify for the record? I think it's...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Can people hear me? Is my microphone not working?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You are a sub-consultant on our general plan preparation team, but I believe you're not
exactly
speaking
right.
as a sub-consultant to us or a consultant to the county this evening.
Thank
Is that
you for
true?
that clarification. You're right.
Thank you very much for clarifying that.
Thank you for your time.
David, I've got a question for her.
Yes.
In your packet that we got,
yes,
you're referring to an alternative 4.
Mm-hmm.
How many dwelling units are in that alternative?
Oh, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. Alternatives 4.
Okay, if one other member of your development team who's here this evening would like to get in line, we can certainly try and answer that question.
Okay, yeah.
But it wouldn't be now, I don't think.
I think Bill will answer that question for you.
Okay,
yeah. Thank
great.
you very much. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Okay.
Good evening. Steve Peterson with the City of Chico Planning Department, and I'm offering some comments on behalf of the City of Chico staff to the Citizens Advisory Committee tonight. I believe they have copies.
I think staff can hand those out if you have multiple copies.
And I don't need to get into the specifics other than just to make a couple quick comments. Number one is 6 of the study areas lie within the Chico planning area. We've been working very closely with the county staff on a collaborative planning effort. We have specific comments on each of the study areas and some questions about the growth projections in terms of whether they're accommodating city or county needs. We stand ready to work with the county on growth alternatives, and our selection of growth alternatives by our city council will occur in September. We're asking that at least one of the growth alternatives in the county plan be consistent with the city plan, and we'll be working more closely with your staff.
David, can I ask the speaker a
please.
quick question? This is a staff memo, is that correct?
Correct. That's from city staff.
How did staff determine what to recommend on various study areas? Were you provided guidance by a subcommittee of the council or by the full council?
Well, the letter has been reviewed by the city manager and the mayor of the city of Chico. In terms of we're not making a recommendation on study areas specifically. We're commenting generally on the amount of growth, clarifying, trying to find out how much growth is being addressed in the county plan, because we also have our plan going forward. So
okay, then let me ask a quick follow-up question to that. I counted up, you say in certain study areas in here, you go through and you say this alternative would be the best alternative for this planning process. And so I did a quick tabulation of how many dwelling units that would equal, and that's 11,500 units in those study areas. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, did the City Council provide direction to you to suggest to the Citizens Advisory Committee in the general plan update process that you encourage us to build 11,500 new dwelling units, or at least plan for that on the border of the city of Chico?
First of all, the comment letter is provided by city staff, so the answer is no, we haven't been directed by council. The second point is that this is an informational letter with respect to our comments on the growth alternatives. We have been allocated a certain amount of growth to accommodate, and we're pointing out that the study areas need to take into account the city's growth projections as well as the county's projections. So it's really a kind of an effort to try to clarify some of the assumptions in the growth analysis.
Okay, David, one more question. I'm sorry.
We really do need to move on.
I understand. I have one more question. The general comment number 1, your staff memo says, the city respectfully requests that a final decision on the selection of growth alternatives when the City of Chico's planning area be considered within the context of the Chico General Plan update. So I'm assuming what you're saying there is that study areas that we're considering as part of our general plan update that are within your planning area, you think should be considered as part of your update process. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's pursuant to a memorandum of agreement we have with the county to collaborate on planning in our borders. The fact that the study areas reside wholly within the planning area of the jurisdiction of the City of Chico. And all we're saying is that we're not going to be in a position to recommend alternatives until September. We hope to catch up with your process before the board takes action. So It's kind of a heads up on our process.
And I agree with you. My question then on study area 3, your first sentence here says, Alternative 2, with its mix of residential uses, and this is the area that's closest to the city core. This is clearly within the Chico planning area, but your recommendation, or at least your opinion, is that the county choose for its preferred alternative 2, which would allow for up to 3,000. I don't understand how that matches with the general principle that you outlined. I don't know if you care to comment on that.
The 3 alternatives before the CAC are, as I understand it, existing general plan, concentrated growth, or a rural extension, low-density growth. What we're saying here is that if you're going to accommodate growth on a regional basis, it's more efficient in terms of providing services and to reinforce cities that are most capable of providing services and maintaining compact urban form to follow alternative 2. It's less land consumptive. It provides a greater mix of land uses supporting basically city development. So that's kind of a city perspective, general comment on the 3 alternatives.
We really should move on if we possibly can.
You're cutting us off on this part, but I have lots of questions in regards to this. So when can we come back?
We're going to get them back when we get to the alternatives, or? I assume that we can ask them back up when we're discussing the alternatives.
Yeah, I think if the committee wants to ask certain speakers to come back at the time that we come to certain items, we can certainly do that.
And frankly, I mean, this is the Citizens Advisory
This is our meeting.
That's right.
To talk about Chico, and this is the City of Chico, and they've provided an opinion, and there appears to be some inconsistencies in the logic in their opinion, so it is worth talking about.
We don't have to do it now.
Excuse me?
We don't have to do it now, but I do think that before we roll into alternatives on this issue of when things are on the edge, are we double counting? Are we single counting? Are we counting theirs? Are they counting ours? How does this all work? I think we need to revisit that before we launch in the alternatives.
Okay, and I may be able to answer questions about that also. I think I'm relatively familiar with the counting methodology, at least that we've used. So if there are questions, I didn't understand the question to be how were things counted, and if there are questions in that regard, I can help to answer, and I'm sure Steve can also from the city's perspective. So if it's okay with the committee, we can move on?
Yes. So moved.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. I think there is a request that you stay in the room. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Stephen Sayre. I'm an environmentalist living in Paradise. Considering the winter range for our declining migratory deer herds extends down to about 500 feet in elevation, and deer prefer to forage and migrate on the ridge tops where houses are usually built. and that's also habitat for migratory birds. And considering that the ongoing sprawl of 20-acre ranchettes in the foothills would fragment that lower elevation deer and other wildlife habitat and tend to introduce dogs that stress already declining deer herds, and considering that I don't want to see towns such as Paradise become further subdivided and denser than they already are, I'd like to suggest a policy on the remaining large foothill parcels of building up rather than out, thus concentrating any growth on very small footprints.
10 seconds.
To leave the rest of the flat ridge tops as open space. Wastewater leach lines could be under the parking lots on top. And I envision futuristic, tall, multifamily condos where they could be located partway down into the canyon,
Time's
not
up.
in the riparian zones.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Guy Hall, one of the family members that is looking at study area 6, the Upper Stilson Canyon. What we're really looking for and asking and proposing is a hybrid solution that really takes an intelligent use of that land. That allow us to have thousands of acres of open space along with intelligent clustered homes, and very key, the ability to continue farming that property, which desperately needs some water, that has got proven sources, but we need to be able to go from a pilot wells to full wells. The community there as well needs the water, and this will provide a viable, ongoing, long-term farming experience, along with perhaps tasting rooms to provide year-to-year continuity. By the way, I've got about 70 acres up there with 300 tons of Zinfandel wine.
Time's about up.
So please enjoy your wine as well.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carla Resnick, and I live on Alamo Avenue across the street from the Green Line. There's a thing that I didn't understand about the Belmure area, which is across from my house, and there was something about agricultural uses are not considered viable in this neighborhood. And I don't understand that because there's agriculture there now. There's walnuts. There's a walnut orchard right across the street from my house. There's almonds. There are mung farmers. And I don't understand what's not suitable about that. And I can't imagine there being 3,000 houses in that area. Even 200 or 100 seems excessive to me. So
5 seconds.
The fewer the houses, the better, whichever option that is, as far as I'm concerned, for Belmure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kate Hicks, and I live in Butte Creek Canyon, and I speak for a group of canyon residents. We'd like to speak to Area 6, the Upper Stilson Canyon area. We are concerned not just about water and fire access in and out, but we're also concerned about the view shed down into Butte Creek Canyon. I've looked at their plan, we've looked at their plan, and we like it very much, and we like that it takes a lot of things into consideration, including the view shed from the Chico side, but we'd like to make sure that there's also an open ridge line for not only the deer migration but also the view shed looking down into the canyon. The other area we're concerned about is Area 9, right at the entrance to the canyon. We would very much like to see Alternative 1 used for that area, keeping the area rural, which is what it is right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Grace Marvin. I live in Chico, and I'm the conservation chair of the Sierra Club Yahi group. I've spoken before about needing a water element in the general plan, and I want to let everybody know who didn't attend the special meeting last week in Chico regarding adding elements that the overwhelming majority of the people present said we need to add not a water element. And what I want to say as an example right now dealing with Chico is that there's a permanent depression under Chico and under Durham regarding groundwater. And following up on what Barbara Hennigan has said, we need to have a so-called water budget. It's not monetary calculations, it's calculations of how much water there is from various sources for Butte Creek. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Pamela Posey, and I represent Butte Creek Canyon. I'm a resident there. I also represent Friends of Butte Creek. And I'd like to address study areas 9, 14, 15, and 6. These all touch upon Butte Creek, either down in Butte Creek or on the ridge. And we are supporting alternative 1, which is to leave it as agriculture or open land. Our concerns are the environmental impact of sewage from septic tanks, runoff from impervious areas, runoff from fertilizers, pesticides, and other chemicals from homeowners and proposed industrial sites into Butte Creek with resultant downstream impacts on Chico and Durham. It was mentioned that there are no endangered species. However, Butte Creek is the home of the last and best run of the endangered spring run salmon in Butte Creek and in the state of California. And I would like that to go on record.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Cromer. I live in Chico, and I'm here to talk about Belmure. We spoke at the meeting here about a month ago. We have a group of residents in Belmure, supporters of Alternative 2. We made our voice loud and clear. We are not... we know 3,000 units sounds like a lot. That's a bookend, as it was explained to us. We are looking for some ability to develop in the Belmure area. We've had a petition signed by about 50 property owners, representing about 40% of the property in the area, that are all supportive of this. It isn't really viable for agriculture anymore. We've already had owners tell us of people walking through their orchards, people complaining when they're spraying, not willing to put investment back in the orchards because it's just not viable when it's totally surrounded by urbanization. So a large group of us in the Belmure area strongly support Alternative 2, and we would appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
David?
Yes.
Bob, can you stay? Not right now, but can you stay in the room? Sure. So I want to ask you questions when we talk about transfer.
Next, please.
Hello, my name is Michelle Gonzalez. I'm a resident on Alamo Avenue, also referring to the study area 3, the Belmure area. I'm on the Green Line directly across the street from this area, so this is something that is concern to me. I've not been here yet before, but I have lived in the area my whole life. We prefer the number 1, the alternative 1, which is the current rural homes, as opposed to alternative 2, which would potentially bring in 3,000 new homes. We believe that the area cannot sufficiently support more housing, and more importantly brings up the idea of moving the current Green Line. It seems to me it was put there for a reason, and at the risk of offending people here tonight, it seems like the current landowners want to move that because they can make a profit by parceling their land off.
10 seconds.
And it seems to be the main push, as evidenced from the landowner petitions and the current speakers here tonight. If that's allowed to happen once now from personal, isn't it going to be allowed to happen again in the future? And then how far out is our Green Line going to go?
Hi, my name is Alicia Whittlesey, and I'd like to speak to study areas 9, 14, 15, 16, 18, and 19, and I support Alternative 1 in all cases. And in all these cases, you're weighing agricultural zoning versus various kinds of development. And in the evaluation of agriculture with reference to vernal pools, critical habitat, and sensitive species, these areas were given a C for grazing because of possible fertilizing or disking of grasslands, which I've never known to occur. As we've heard discussed in these meetings, grazing is already a marginal economic activity, and farmers are not going to put more effort into changing these grazing lands. And furthermore, grazing often improves the number of endemic species, of endangered species in California by keeping out exotic grasses. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good evening, Bill Broward, one of the landowners of Study Area 9. The notes aren't going to do me any good in 1 minute. We are so privileged to be able to have an opportunity to have a piece of property that is 10 parcels. We've assembled that. It's on the urban edge of Chico. It's a great location for access. Our vision plan began when we saw the guiding principles adopted by Butte County and all the issues, key issues and themes from citizens, together with site tours with over 130 residents, a vision began to form involving one of the most substantial things, the second regional park for Chico, to help preserve Bidwell Park, over 400 acres, a 60 to 90 acre community park, and the letter you referred to earlier is Study Area 9, not Study Area 10.
10 seconds.
You've got a vision plan in front of you. We're happy to address any questions you have.
Yeah, how many units are in Alternative 4?
We
roughly.
Well, we began planning Alternative 4 not with a number of units. We started with open space planning. We've created almost 900 acres of open space. That leaves about 470 acres of land that's suitable for residential development. The 3,000 acres just blows our mind. We would look, if we've got that 90 acres of residential land, less than 4 units per acre on average, although we're definitely proposing a mixed-use development, that would be about 1,500 units.
Is this the same scenario where it's just a geographical multiplier to get to the 3,000?
Yes, that's how we got to the 3,000.
So they're not proposing 3,000?
No, he's just said that he would like, he hasn't said it in so many words, but I think he's saying he has an Alternative 4 in mind, as we've talked about with other study areas, and in his quote-unquote Alternative 4, there would be about 490 acres of development potential, times about 4 units per acre is something on the order of 1,600 to 2,000 units.
We don't think the site is suitable for any more than about 1,500 units.
Okay. So you wouldn't even get to 4 units an acre on almost 500 acres. It would be 1,600 units, 1,500.
Yeah. Our approach is to cluster very sensitively, not only the very low density residential development, but medium density. And we just think that the 3,000 units is way too many.
Okay.
The land, we think, would sensibly and very sensitively hold about 1,500 residential units of a mixed-use nature.
So Alternative 4 has 1,500 units in it.
David, just for the sake of discussion, is this what we are collectively referring to as Alternative 4 of the packet?
Yes, there's a page in that analysis that describes some of the basic components of Alternative 4. No project is planned. This isn't a planned project. We wouldn't presume to pick a number of units and then cram it on the land.
Right.
We've inverted that whole model on top. Right. We planned the open space, developing the vision.
For our discussion, we're going to call this 4. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Craig Sanders here representing the landowners that have the majority acreage in Study Area 2. We ask that you continue to support Alternative 1, North Chico specific plan. It offers a balanced mix of uses, well thought out. The Alternative 3 is entirely too much industrial commercial to be supported. Also here to support the 4th alternative for Area 6, which would provide the ability to solve issues of roads, fire safety, and can also provide significant open space and public access that could possibly be lost if the property were divided into rural parcels of 40 acres or whatever. So,
thank you.
Good evening. My name is Don Swartz. I'm going to speak on Area 14. Our primary focus is economic development. We believe there's a unique opportunity to position the finest business and research park in the state along Highway 99. This is shown as Area A in the letter that I sent to Tim on April 21st, which is in part of your handouts. And it follows the lead that the county did starting in 2001 and finalized in 2004 for Business and Research Park. Also in the letter, there's an Area B right adjacent, which we proposed for residential. A and B were both considered by the City of Chico as future growth areas in the study they did 5/14/2004. The majority of the ranch, 3,500 acres,
10 seconds.
Area C is an operating ranch, and we think it's best served by painting it white on the general plan as opposed to any color. There's really terrible topography there. It's going to be a cattle ranch forever, and by putting it any color other than white, it makes the county's plan more massive than it really is. And thank you for your time.
We're talking about 14 here?
Yes, Study Area 14.
Don, I've got a quick question. Right here, in your Area B, your residential component,
yes.
Do you plan to cluster those towards the Skyway?
No, it makes no sense in my judgment to cluster towards the Skyway. The community's spoken pretty clearly that they'd like us to stay away from the Skyway. Yeah. So whoever proposed that never spoke with us.
Do you propose clusters anywhere within, or just
it's in the
even broad?
What the letter says is that we do propose gracious clustering, and the majority of the land, which means more than 50% of that area, would remain in grazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I will be staying if you have other questions. Thank you.
Howard Isom, Chico. I want to thank the committee for all your hard work. I can tell you serving on these takes a lot of time, and we did not bother trying to get all of you together to go look at our property, but we do have a handout that's pretty visual. I think the important thing is we do want to environmentally do something proper with this property, and also to create a lot of open space and use by the public. So you might say we could be creating another 2,000-acre park. We haven't called it that. But we want to continue the agriculture. I'm interested in building a winery up on Humboldt Road, having a tasting room, place for weddings, etc. So I think with a plan we can help the Buzztail Community Service District have better access, reduce their traffic time, and also give them the benefit of having a more economic unit.
10 seconds.
I've heard the comment, we do not have adequate water. That's incorrect. We've drilled 3 wells up in the area. We have a lot of water available. So thank you very much for your time. And I feel at my age I should have had a minute and a half. Thank you.
Steve Schuster, Chico. I'm here to talk about study area number 9. Your handout, Alternative 4, that was talked about by Bill. To clarify the choice number 2, the density of 1,500 units or less, was what we started with when we developed 4, to clarify that. So that part of it's been incorporated in number 4. I'd just like to say that this area has the opportunity to do something really unique with Chico. Since we are a large single landowner or pair of landowners, we can master plan this, we can do something right. Chico has a lot of small projects that don't give anything back to the community. And with this project, we can give a lot back. We can give back community parks, regional parks, and
10 seconds.
A lot of other beautiful amenities that you can't do with smaller projects. Thank you.
Steve, are you going to stay around so we can ask you questions later on?
Sure.
Okay.
Hi, Lon Glazner, Chico. I'm here to support Study Area 9, Alternative 4. I was on the CARD Citizens Advisory Committee when this project came up. There was a lot of excitement about the recreation opportunities that it provides. I think we need to recognize that Chico is going to grow, and there's going to be more and more pressure placed on a regional park, Bidwell Park. So this design provides a lot of low-cost recreational opportunities, takes pressure off Bidwell Park, and has a lot of people excited about the opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marianne Govin. I'm not the realtor with the same name. I'm Bellmere area, and I live on Bell Road. My comments are that I'm just a little concerned that the Bellmere Neighborhood Association group is representing only 40% of the neighbors there. It doesn't seem like enough to me, and I think that we should have more discussion on that. I know growth has to happen, but there's a big discrepancy between 100 new homes and 3,200. So I'm kind of confused. It seems to me there could be something more in between. I had something else I was going to say, but I can't remember. Just that group had sent out a letter, and it just, I know. Several of the people on that list are realtors and developers that don't live in the neighborhood, so I'd like to see a bigger representation of the actual neighbors that live there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marshall Thompson. I've owned property out in Bellmere for about 25 years, and I'd like to say appreciate what Jane said opening the meeting. Jane Dolan said that she couldn't have been more clear, but that the Green Line was not intended to constrict Bellmere forever from growth. it was intended at that time to be a residential area at some point. I know the neighbors out there. I know a lot of them. I've come to know a lot of them. Some of them are 2 to 3 generations of. They're not trying to get rich, as some people would say, on splitting their lots. They're just trying to send their kids to college. A lot of them live in double-wide mobile homes. Their land is, they have to take care of it, but it's not worth any more than a city-sized lot in Chico, the 5 and 10 acre parcels. And they, they're just trying to move on and get ahead.
10 seconds.
Belmere is surrounded by three sides by city. It seems time to incorporate, and it's the best use of city growth in the 20 years that the general plan is looking out for. So thank you for consideration.
Barbara Vlamis, representing 850 Butte Environmental Council members and other residents in Butte County. I'd like to ask if we will ever know how the comments that you receive in meetings like this and the myriad others that have occurred, how they are weighted, how they are tabulated, and how they will be responded to. It does feel frequently that this is a pretense of public involvement. I would like to suggest that all of the growth areas should be removed, that any developer or property owner that's interested in building should go visit the incorporated towns, cities, and town in this county. The county should not be in the business of building residential housing. And I think the elephant in the room still is, and we will be submitting petitions in this regard, is that Glenn-Colusa Irrigation District has a contract with the federal and state government to remove everyone that is currently dependent on Tuscan groundwater.
They're downstream.
My name is Larry Jones. I live in North Chico, and I'm speaking regarding Area 3, the Belmure. I had a call, I believe it was Sunday, about a concern that somebody had that there was a petition that had put forward to create 3,000 homes, which is alternative 2 in the Belmure area. A couple of phone calls and 2 or 3 busy but energized people, as you'll see on your paper there, collected 133 negative signatures in the sense that they are very much for the existing alternative 1 for Belmure, supporting the Green Line, and I think you're going to see many, many, many more petitions coming in. I was surprised at the not understanding, but people are getting energized. Thank you very much for supporting alternative 1.
I'm John Luvas, Chico, and they're passing out an excerpt, 3 excerpts actually, from magazines of the National Association of Home Builders and the American Planning Association. Both groups agreeing that our population projections are changing very rapidly for the next couple of decades. By 2025, 85 to 88% of the demand for new homes is expected by both of these major organizations to come from 1 to 2 person households, no longer the majority from families. Declining household size plus declining incomes, lending, and fuel supplies means that new households simply won't be able to afford the lot sizes we've taken for granted. Because of these expected major changes, the builder and planning groups both agree that even by 2003, we'll have more homes. Even in 2003, more homes were already built on large lots than will be needed in 2025. Read the material. Please don't develop within the county. Let the city of Chico plan where and how we're going to grow. Thank you.
My name is Nora Todenhagen. I'm the chair of the Water Advisory Committee and represent the Chico urban area in the BMO process. And I'm very concerned that as you plan these areas, you recognize that it's not simply do these areas have access to water, it's how does their use of water affect the rest of us. and that in the planning process, the developers be required to show that their use of water will not reduce the water table and will not affect the rest of us. For this reason, I support having a water element in the general plan so that the requirements that the developers will have to go through to show their water sources, water uses, and and lowering of the water table will be very clear to all concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we're nearing the end of the group near the microphone. If anybody else wants to speak, please do get in line so that we can move quickly. Please.
Christian Pally, Epicombs, and Chico. In support of Growth Area 3, the City Council has adopted that area years ago as a area that to be investigated to look furthermore into for growth. It stops at the Belmere area. The City of Chico and all the general plan meetings that we've been attending for the last 3 months have been including this area, as well as also up all the way up to Mud Creek, which makes a natural boundary for the Green Line currently. It's not pushing it that much far forward. Eaton Road would eventually be going through there, and all the infrastructure for that area would be supported at that point, therefore allowing infill in between. So I'd support Growth Area 3.
Thank you.
I'm Eddie Dean from Chico, the Belmere area. I farm 30 acres. I'm third generation that farms there. To make an example, the way the city is surrounding us, I used to farm the acres that the city owns now for the school that never got built, and the city just keeps moving in around us. I spray, I burn, I chop, people get upset, they call air pollution control comes out. I am for alternative 2. Doesn't mean we want to do anything right now. We just want to be able to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Elizabeth Devereaux. I think because the vision that we are looking towards includes climate change and need for our water, gas prices going up, air pollution is a consideration. First of all, I think a water element is really important, as Nina Totenhagen said, and I feel like the building that will be done, the development mainly should be occurring within the existing infrastructure of the cities to prevent this use of cars, air pollution, and the increase of climate change. Lastly, I want to say I think this process is wrong. The county vision should precede development in terms of every development needs to be measured against the vision, not development determine what the vision will be.
Bill Webb, Chico. I'm not here promoting any specific growth area, just here to reiterate that the city of Chico does face a housing crisis here in the next 5 to 10 years when our available land is eaten up. Personally, I favor Growth Area 3, not promoting it, and I also favor shifting the Green Line to Mud Creek, creating a defensible boundary. To reiterate what Chris said, putting in the Eaton Road bypass would bring the necessary infrastructure into the Belmere area, allowing it to develop in a systematic, more orderly fashion. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Peggy Werloff. I live at the end of Bay Avenue. I'm not sure if that's in 3 or not, if it's even in an area. But we've farmed out there for about the last 20 years on a little 10-acre piece of land. Lately, our trees got some rot in the root or whatever we had. We took out the orchard, and I was surprised to find that I made more money by not having that orchard because I saved $4,000 on my insurance bill by not having a farm. It just shows you that it is not feasible to farm on a small piece of property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nora Burnham. I live out in Butte Valley. I would like to say for number 15 that I don't think we need a research and development park out there. Oroville's begging for one. They've just set aside lots of property, which they've had set aside for years, for research and development. It belongs connected to a city, not in open space. The open space part of 15 I do like. I'd also like to say that, to reiterate what John Luvas said, that let the cities do the planning, not the county, for housing. I've sat in many of Oroville's planning meetings, and they've got enough housing planned for the next 100 years, to repeat David's words. They were planning for 20 years, but they want enough housing for 20 years, and they've got it written down. So
10 seconds.
We don't need it. Thanks.
Any final speakers?
Hi, my name is Beth Johnson, and I live in the Belle-Mure area. And I have listened to people talking both ways about, or many ways, about what to do with the Belle-Mure area. And it has a lot of classic issues, like I live in the housing neighborhood, but across the street there's an almond orchard, and it's beautiful, and I want to take my dog there. And then the other side, of course, is I have the almond orchard, and I can't work except when the neighborhood is at work, and I'm not bothering anybody. My comment is this: I like my property, and I like the Belle-Mure area, and I like the openness and all the wonderful things that go with it, but I know who's paying for that, and I know what they're paying for it. And so my comment simply is
10
that
seconds.
I believe you need to do something with the Belle-Mure area, and I don't know what. But if you don't do that in this planning cycle, that by the time the next planning cycle comes up, you will have caused, or by omission allowed, people to be driven to doing things that I don't think the county wants, like empty fields.
Time's up.
Questionable buildings and very unintentional uses of the land out there.
Time is up.
Thank you. Because people do what they need to do to survive economically and aesthetically. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers left? Yes, Donna, could you use the microphone, please?
David, could Barbara come back, because we missed the last of her statement.
Barbara
from Butte Environmental Council.
Barbara from the Butte Environmental Council, you're being paged. Someone is getting her, asking her to come back to the microphone from the outdoor pizza eating area. Barbara, one of the committee members has a question for you. If you don't mind approaching the microphone, it would be great.
Barbara,
yes?
There were several of us around the tables that had missed the last couple of statements that you made, and it was to do with the Tuscan aquifer. Could you clarify that to the rest of us?
I'd be glad to. There is an existing contract that was signed in 2006 between the Glen Colusa Irrigation District and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. One of the tasks was in that grant agreement is to look for sources of water for all people currently dependent on the Tuscan aquifer, the groundwater, because they are preparing for, as they call it, their word, aggressive pumping. And so that is the source for my statement.
Thank you. Do we have any final speakers? Okay, I think it is probably appropriate to take a short break. We will reconvene at 5 minutes to 7.